Today we're going to be discussing Keeping Diaries, Season 2, Episode 21. We have discussed secret rooms back in Episode 19. We've discussed bridges, bridges from here to there. We're going to be discussing confessions, but today our focus is on keeping diaries. And we are sending greetings to our subscribers in Europe, the United States, Australia, and I think we might even have a few people interested in Mars. You said you were eating a Mars bar. What is a Mars bar?
Well, it's a candy.
Uh huh.
I liked it a lot. I I'd love to share one with you, but COVID and stuff, isolation. Have you ever tried it?
Yes, I remember I used to eat Mars bars when I was a teenager. It has nougat and then some almonds, and then it's enrobed in chocolate. And I love the word enrobed. Instead of covered, I say it's enrobed in chocolate. I love Mars bars. I don't get them that much, but in Texas, but I've also seen them made with dark chocolate.
Damn, you're
Mm.
like into like Mars bars. We should make an episode definitely.
Yes, yes. Okay, so today we're talking about keeping diaries, and on our cover shot, you can see a fox curled up, kind of resting in the forest. And this is a new diary that I'm going to be starting in about a week or two. So that's a diary that is a blank book. It has lines, and for me, a diary is a conversation with myself. And what a better audience than me, right?
Oh, for me too. I can totally relate. When I was a teenager, I kept a diary for a few months, usually after the New Year, in view of all those New Year's resolution. Yeah. Did you have a diary when you was when you were a kid?
Yes, I remember I was actually living in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was friends with um, another American. She drove a Volkswagen Beetle. Her dad was a colonel. Mine was a lieutenant colonel, but she actually had a car in Germany as a in high school. And then we got stationed back into San Antonio, so the family flew back to Texas. And I remember my friend Beverly mailed me a diary for Christmas, and that was, I don't know, maybe I was 15 years old. It was the first diary I ever had. It was black, was made of had black leather, and the inside was blank pages. And she and I were in an art club, so we used to go sketching all the time. And she wrote that you can use this to write in or sketch in as you wish. So that was years ago, and
Do
I,
do
I
you
always
still do you
remember
still
that.
remember what you wrote about? Was that like you wrote your deep thoughts and like spilled the beans about your latest heartbreak? What was it about?
Oh, no, I wasn't into heartbreak. I was into the meaning of life. It's the same thing, like, X hundred years later at this age. I mean, I go back and look at some old diaries. I've kept a lot of them. I go back and look at them. You think that I would like learn or grow up, but I'm dealing with the same things. I remember I was writing down at that time the words to songs by Bob Dylan, by Joan Baez, that song California Dreaming,
Oh yeah.
Mamas and the Papas. I was writing down words to songs, and I was also thinking about what they meant. I was listening to reading the poetry of Leonard Cohen, so I was trying to write some poetry. And I also wrote this little meditation, which was pretty brilliant for a 15-year-old. I was asking myself that I was raised as a Catholic and I was born in Texas, but I was asking myself in my diary, if I had been born in Nepal, would I be a Buddhist?
Wow.
That's pretty deep for 15 years old, right?
Absolutely. Imagine that by any chance, do you happen to have it still, like, your teenage diary? If you have it, okay, just imagine that. Could you read out extracts from it? Maybe.
I have several suitcases full of diaries that I have kept over the years, and I will occasionally, because I keep thinking I'm going to be moving and I need to like get organized, but I don't have that one exactly in front of me, but I have another one. Well, rooting around for that. Tell me what you wrote about when you were keeping a
Well,
diary.
as a rule, that was all sorts of New Year's resolution. You know, boys write about how they would learn a new skill and how they, I don't know, drive new motorcycle and or the bicycle or what they're gonna win, all stuff like that. Nothing
Like
to home road, nothing to
accomplishments and
write home about.
achievements. Uh, well, I'm very
I
fond of
think what I think it was far too embarrassing to. I wouldn't want to reread it if you ask me. Although just me, I could be wrong. You maybe would you enjoy rereading it if you had it?
if I had it. I have hundreds of diaries. I
Yeah.
have like
Oh,
I'm
really?
always
Yeah. Was that all of them?
I've kept diaries for years, and I'll go back and I'll look at some of the journal entries, and they're the same things. There's quotations by, oh, here's one. There's quotations by Pascal, man is a reed, the weakest thing in nature, but he's a thinking reed. I wrote that in French and in English when I was like 15 years old because I was studying French at school. Okay, here's the diary I have. This is all about me. I feel like I'm being a narcissist.
No, no. Well, metaphorically speaking, but go on.
Okay, so I'm opening up one. It has a lot of angels and Victorian kind of memorabilia on the front, and it says, End of December 1996.
Cool.
Something new is beginning. That's my head quote.
Is
And
this
then the first,
is this an honest
yeah.
account of what it was like at the time?
No, what I'm saying is I was looking around. I just pulled up a journal. It's
Oh,
right in
okay,
front of me.
okay.
It's
Go on. Sorry.
and then the first page says, this journal was given to me during the summer. I'm starting it new at the end of December. I feel as if something new is beginning. I hope so. I have a little more energy and hope. Yeah, I'm okay. Well, there's like some more stuff. Gosh, wow, this is like pretty deep.
Hey, but
Yeah.
you, this is important, okay? I don't know if you stopped doing that, or maybe you've just returned to keeping a diary. Uh, or was it you're done with the diaries? Can you share that?
No, I have kept diaries my whole life. So 15,
Cool.
15, 25, 35, 45, 55. I've kept diaries my whole life. And I've written poetry and I've done reflections about art and music. Here's a poem that I started. I wrote on question mark. So this diary that I'm reading from is what did I say? It's from December 1996. And I just flipped open a random page. It says, Why I'm Not Dead.
Oh my God.
In 1992, question mark. I'm not dead. I'd like to be, but I'm not. I wish I was a character out of the Salinger novel, desperate and on the edge, like a broken crystal. Jeez, this thing is scary.
Well, not to change the subject, I'm not going to
Yeah, let's
interrupt you,
change
but
the subject.
yeah, you told me that I like actually the friend of yours told you, the priest actually, that you should share only the things that you like. I thought that maybe you should like write down the things you like, and that would be like the secret to being happy. Keep a diary, but take note of what like lifts your mood only,
Oh
and
yes, yes. Well,
learn
I
how
mean,
to cheer
also
yourself up.
in my diaries, I'm just flipping open. I also keep dreams, and I have had prophetic dreams where in the dream, I see something, and then within 2, 3 weeks, it actually happens. I'm just flipping this open to a, a picture of this church. It was the St. Cyril and Methodius Catholic Church. It's in some little small town in Texas. And this is in December. I actually saw it in my dream. That's weird. Yeah, so that's oh gosh, look at all this stuff. Okay, so yeah, I mean the positive things about keeping a diary is that you're always home when you knock on the door of yourself, like you're there, right? You go to visit friends, they're not always home, but you knock on the door of yourself, and there you are, you're home. Wherever you
Yeah,
are, there
yeah.
you. What's
Just
that quote you like? Wherever you go, there you are.
I'm just thinking that the idea of write down only good thing, if that probably contradicts what Freud told us about, but I think if we keep a diary and write down the things that make you smile, that would be like a nice thing to read in 20 years from now.
Yeah, that's true.
right? Imagine that you took the
That,
diary from 1996, and instead of like "Why I'm Not Dead," you would be like, "What a wonderful day I had just had," and you'd try to remember what
well,
it was
no,
like about, and
no,
you'd
I
feel.
no, I can remember what it was. It was probably I was going on a walk and I was looking at some like trees lose their leaves in the winter time. So our next season three is going to be winter. But at the end of this in this journal, I was reflect. I think I had gone on a walk and I was thinking about the changes of seasons and how I like the fall. I get very nostalgic, and then I feel very meditative and wondering about the end of the year, the end of did I live it in a meaningful way? So that poem, "Why I'm Not Dead," is it might seem kind of negative, but it's really about the meaning of life. And then it goes on. The next page, there's a quotation from Camus. I found in the darkest of winter an invincible spring that lives within me. Something like that. I was a complex teenager,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah. But just I'm thinking, what would I write down if I had to write down the scene that lifts me up? That would be
What
probably
about today? What about today? What
the
about today? What if
yeah.
you were
Like if
talking
if
about you
I
were writing in your diary
yeah,
today?
I have the cats, and if I pet my stress away, if I stroke the cat, pet my stress away, would that be? I think that would be a good thing to write about. Just 10 minutes, like petting the cat, reduce
Yes.
anxiety,
Yeah.
and then who knows, maybe a year or two from now, I'll just read about it and smile.
Well, also, I have another friend who has, I went to college and became an English art history person, and she became a nurse midwife. So she's all about the birthing process. And she came to visit me from Wisconsin. She lives up there. She came to Texas to visit me a year or so ago. And she has a habit of every morning she does a little tiny painting of something of where she is. So she carries around her watercolor paints with her. So when she was here, she did a little painting of some bananas and apples and something I had in a fruit bowl. And then she also writes down three things she's grateful for. So like one, two, three. So like if I was going to write about what I'm grateful for today, I made some really great soup. It was a lentil soup. It had a little bit of jasmine rice in it, some onions, and I put some cumin, and just the smell of the soup cooking made me forget about all the zany stuff on the news, all the exciting things on the news. But I was just like absorbed in the moment, like probably when you're petting the cat, right?
Uh huh.
So, like, we're recommending to our listeners to make more soup during the autumn season to pet cats. Now, can you think of any famous people that have kept diaries?
Uh, Queen Elizabeth, I guess. She kept diaries for the past 50 years. That will probably go to Queen Elizabeth Foundations, I think, in 100 years. That's always interesting when someone keeps a diary in position of power.
That's true. That's true. Well, I know that the Diary of Anne Frank is a classic. A young girl hiding in Nazi Germany, and she was writing her thoughts about life. And just think of how many young girls and boys kept diaries, but the diaries disappeared. Maybe they moved or they lost them. But I think about the Diary of Anne Frank. I think of the diaries that Anais Nin kept, the diaries of Virginia Woolf, the diaries of Thomas Merton. And so many thinkers and writers and artists keep
Do,
diaries
do you
or
know
some
what
kind
I've
of
come
note.
across the other day? The book, a journal actually, to reflect your thoughts on self-isolation. A journal, you can keep a journal, but it's not a year ahead, it's just dated for a month ahead. 35 days of isolation. Um, I don't know, maybe they think that that will help us to reduce anxiety if you're locked down or anything else. I don't know. I haven't voted.
Man, if I saw that on a shelf, that'd make me anxious. 35 days of isolation. I would never buy that. I, but I mean, you're a man. Like you're kind of like a practical man. I mean, if you look at the cover shot, I've got like a fox sleeping in the forest. Like that's a book I want to write in. Like makes me think of like taking
but
naps,
yeah,
quilts. But you're right. Keeping notes during isolation. Maybe you should buy it.
I'm just thinking that maybe you and me were keeping notes right now, just not on the paper.
We are. We've talked about so many different things, and there's so many connections. I was thinking about the last episode we did about bridges and how bridges are kind of a connection between the unconscious and the conscious. And
Mm-hmm.
I personally believe that a lot of creativity comes from our unconscious mind. So,
Also, yeah, their point is that diaries aren't just handwritten reflections, right? In bound journals or notebooks. They might be video or audio entries, whatever it is. So long as we are
oh,
regularly
yeah.
update them for like a month or two, for a season or a year ahead, that still qualifies as a diary.
Well, we have made sort of a quasi commitment. May I call it a quasi commitment? A
You can
commitment
call
to
it a full-time commitment too.
we've decided, we talked about doing these patroma therapy episodes, and then we kind of negotiated, well, how many should we do? And then I said, well, why don't we like sync it with the seasons, and that way our listeners, whether they're in North America, South America, England, France, Germany, Russia, Dallas, they can kind of follow along with the seasons. So I like the idea that we have the seasons. We finished season 1, which was the spring, and now we're into season 2, which is autumn, and then we're going to be moving, I think, on December the 1st into winter. And I don't know, I kind of like it because when we get together, to me, it's kind of like therapy. And I think about some of the things that you say, or
Uh, me,
if you
me,
think about some of the things that we come up with.
Me
Yeah.
too, me too. By the way, you've just asked me if I know any person, a famous person who kept a diary. I might, but I wasn't gonna say. But I'm not sure about Queen Elizabeth. I'm sure she does probably. But I was gonna say when we discussed that episode, the guy, the dude who went to Alaska, lived there for 30 years, and he kept a diary at the scientist wildlife in the wilderness. His name was Richard Pronicki, if I'm not mistaken, and he kept
Yes,
diary. Lived alone
yes.
for nearly 30 years. He's a photographer, I guess, and writer and wildlife photographer anyway. And yeah, I maybe diary helped him to, stay sane. I want to build me a cabin just like
Well,
his.
well, the other thing about him, I guess nowadays we would use the expression somebody lives off the grid,
Right.
which means you don't want to be caught in the daily grind of life. You want to have some time in nature. You want to reflect on the meaning of life. You don't want to be tied up in consumerism. So when you were telling me about him, at first I didn't remember who he was, but there's a long history in America of people leaving the cities going into the woods. So Thoreau, who wrote Walden Pond and Civil Disobedience, he left Boston and went into the woods. But this fellow that you're talking about is really amazing because he had his camera, he had some diary notes, he brought enough food there. He built this cabin, I think, on some land that his friend gave him permission to build on, and
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
land and build your cabin.
absolutely. His cabin is fantastic. I think there is no man on earth who wouldn't want to do the same thing. I told you I want to build my cabin just like his. Maybe I will. Um,
Well, I was showing a picture of that cabin to a friend of mine, and he was saying, like, I want to live there. So, so
there is no man who wouldn't want to do that. Absolutely, any man just trade everything he had for this little piece of land and a cabin on it, like in the middle of nowhere.
now, see, as a woman, what I want to do is I want to be in a really great hotel, like not too far away, and have a really great room and a fireplace, Wi-Fi, and you just text me some pictures of how you're doing out there in the wilderness. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if women need more comfort. I mean, I've done some camping I've done camping. I've done hiking. I've got a couple friends here in Texas that love to go camping and hiking. I like to go, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to be there, real wilderness, for a long time. But I don't know. Is there going to be a shower in your cabin, or you just stand in the snow and let it melt on your body?
Yeah, it's not. That's not the point. Okay, just point is to reinforce your happiness.
That's true. Getting away and then doing what you like to do. So fishing, hunting, shooting, writing, reading.
Yeah,
That
and
sounds great.
appreciate lovely breakfast and nice morning, whatever makes you happy, and be grateful for everything.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful ending. So, well, we thank our listeners for being with us today, and hopefully they'll stay tuned for the next episode, episode 22, which is about confessions. Goodbye for now.